Hi, Kayla.
你好，我叫 Kala Kelly Renda. My Chinese name is Wang Zhongrong. I was born in Hubei province, and I spent the first year of my life at the Wanggong Social Welfare Institute. At the orphanage, I was raised by a foster family, and when I was a year old, I was adopted and I left China and moved to New York. When I got to the orphanage, doctors estimated that I was born around February 10th, 1998. I've spent the last semester studying abroad in China. Since this is my first trip back to China, I also really hope to search for my birth family. I was adopted from Wanggong, Hubei province, when I was a year old, and my family's from New York, so I moved over to New York. I'm right here on Long Island. I have a younger sister. She is right now a senior in high school, and she was adopted from Russia. So I grew up in this very, very small town, smack in the middle of Long Island. And it was a great place to grow up because there was a community feel. There were small classes. I always saw my friends. But it definitely was a little bit hard because there wasn't a lot of Chinese or even Asian culture around me. It wasn't very diverse if you look at it in terms of race. So because I was one of the only Asian kids in my grade, I really struggled with kind of finding myself and understanding my identity because none of the other kids look like me. My parents, they've known forever that I wanted to search for my birth parents and go back to China. Since I was a baby, since I learned how to talk or understand or comprehend kind of my story, they told me everything. They told me I was adopted, that I came from China, that eventually we would go back to China when I was kind of old enough to understand and process everything. So they were wonderful. And yeah, they really supported my trip over to China and my search for my birth parents.
Who loves you, baby?
I remember they used to have a lot of children's books. So we would have like regular books, but then we would also have books on adoption, and it kind of made it easier for a child to understand adoption. And because we had those books, I kind of understood at a very young age that I was adopted. So there was never any confusion.
I hate Glassa. What is Glassa?
Kielbasa. It's Polish sausage. It's Polish sausage, and I'm part Polish.
I don't care. I want Chinese.
The hard times didn't come from accepting that I was adopted. The hard times came from kind of wanting to know Chinese culture and wanting to latch on to some semblance of my identity as Chinese. And it was hard because where I grew up, there wasn't a ton of that. And especially because my sister, she was adopted from Russia. So she really fits in to my community here in New York because of how she looks, and because I am Chinese, it was much harder for me growing up here. From an early age, I was the one trying to make dumplings and learning how to like use chopsticks and trying to listen to Chinese music, anything that could get me closer to Chinese culture because I didn't really experience it where I was growing up. A lot of my decision to move to Los Angeles for college was because it has a much bigger Chinese or just Asian American population. And that was a very big part of why I wanted to go over there. So a lot of what I do is sort of to immerse myself in the culture. China and moved to New York. I was very, very young. I attended Chinese school over here on Long Island with families with children from China, New York. And one of my teachers, Man Li, she was very, very supportive in my search. She helped me translate a video which spread all across the city where I'm from, which was wonderful. She helped tremendously. I also got a lot of help from the New York Yellow Crane Club, which is a bunch of Hubei residents, and they were very supportive. And just when my video circulated all over the area, I got messages from hundreds of people just kind of wanting to help and check in to see if they could do anything. So it was really, really overwhelming the amount of love and support that I received, but I'm so thankful for it. I was able to go back to Wanggong 2 times. The first time it was with the Yellow Korean Club, and the second time it was just me and my mom. So I had the opportunity to meet the people at the orphanage who take care of a lot of the kids, and that was great to kind of see what my life kind of was like in the beginning of my life. And I also saw my foster parents. They kind of contacted me because they saw the video that was circulating about my story, and they remembered me. So they reached out, and I had a chance to talk with them. We went to lunch with them and dinner, and it was just wonderful to sort of meet them. And they showed me where they used to live and where I used to stay for a year of my life.
This family were over 15 and 16. That's why.
In Beijing, there is an office called the CCCWA, and they have all the files of all the kids that were adopted. And going over there, I actually saw that I was left with a note, and I didn't know that I was left with a note until I went to that office and they told me. And it was very emotional for me to see that note because I didn't know that my birth parents left me with anything. On the note, it just said, February 10th, 1998, which they assume is my birthday. It didn't really say, but they kind of guessed. And just seeing either my birth mom or my birth dad's handwriting on this note was sort of just really, really emotional for me. I wrote this letter back at school for my foster family, but I don't remember really what I wrote. I haven't heard anything, and I'm hoping that videos like this and just kind of continuing the search will sort of help me along the path of trying to find my birth parents. I do want to go back to China. I'm not sure when, but I do hope to go back and kind of search again. But at least for right now, I'm doing a lot of it just through the groups that I'm in. I know there's a finding poster for the province of Hubei, so I have my information on that. I did DNA testing through 23andMe, so in case any siblings come up or any other relatives, I'll get notified of that. But yeah, I'm still trying.